Hello friends, welcome to Senior Coding Web Development Platform. In today's session, we are going to create a typing score or typing basis. Hope you know on the typing basis, we used to have three levels. One is easy, medium and third one is difficult. So we will have a set of words where we need to type within the time speed and it will be revealing their final score. If required, we can reload and we can practice on at any times. So this is a basic idea on the platform. We are going to create this platform by using the HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So under the JavaScript part, we are going to use very simple terms of constanting the word, text and score basis. And even on the HTML part, we are going to make we are going to make the label as well as their options. So let me see how it is executed and what are the relevant source code is required to develop this program. So under my link pages, I used the style sheet and I'm used there as style.css. And just coming to my maybe we can add the title over here. So under the title, I'm going to add as speed test. Speed test. I'm just adding a speed text. So next on the body part, I'm going to add the button of button ID, which is equivalent to setting button. I'm going to make here as a setting button. Setting button. Next, I'm going to make their class is equivalent to settings button. So this is my button ID. So next I'm going to create my one more part which is of order list, that is I class is equivalent to, this is your choice, you can use this word or you can use some other word. So I'm using it as this thing. Next I'm closing this one and I'm closing this button. So on the continuation of this, I'm going to create the division ID which is equivalent to settings. So where on the division ID, I'm going to set my classes also as setting. So next I'm going to close this particular tag. I'm going to make their form. So under the form, I'm making their ID which is of settings form. So I'm just closing this part. Again, I'm closing one more division which is of label. So under the label for, which I'm going to make it as difficulty, and I'm closing here as difficult. So this is my label is over. Next I'm going to create one more ID which is of tag of select ID. Under this also I'm going to set as difficulty. So I'm just setting as difficulty. So on the continuation of this, I'm going to set my options of value which is equivalent to easy, and again I'm closing and making here as easy, and I'm repeating this particular thing where I'm using this tag as option. I'm just closing this tag. So next I'm making one more option with the value of, that is medium. So under the medium I'm just closing and I'm closing this option tag also. So next I'm opening the option value, which is equivalent to this could be, of course, definitely a difficult one, or I'm choosing here as hard, and I'm closing and making the option as hard one. Again I'm closing this option. So this is over. So this or all comes under the category of select ID of difficulties. For this I'm just closing this tag. I'm just closing here as select. So next I have been closing this form tag, division tag, form tag, and again the division. And on the continuation of this division, I am going to use one more division of class, which is container. Division class, which is container. I'm creating here as container. So next I'm going to make my heading 2. So under the heading 2 you can add any symbols, which is as speed typer. So I'm setting here as speed typer. So this particular tag has been closed. Next I'm going to make a small of. So under the small I'm going to type here as type the following. So whatever the things which we are required, which we want to fetch the details or relieve the details over here. So next on the continuation, I'm just making my H1 part, that is heading 1 of ID. Under this ID I'm making here as word, and I'm closing this tag. So next I'm going to process their input. So under the input of type I am making here as text, and I'm making their ID, which is equivalent to text, and I'm making their auto complete, which is off. So next I'm making a placeholder to be as type the word here. So next on the continuation I'm going to make here as, so I'm going to make here as autofocus, and I'm closing this tag. So next I'm going to add the paragraph of my class, which is time container. So under the time container I'm going to set as time left, which is I'm going to use as span ID, and I'm making here as time. You can set the time also. So I'm setting as 10 seconds. Okay, so on the continuation of this I'm going to make another paragraph, which is I'm going to make it as score container and end game container, where my score should be as 0 and the end game container, it is nothing but where it should end at. So these two things which we need to add. For this I'm going to use it as paragraph class, score container, and next one is end game container. So next I'm going to create my JavaScript file with the function name of, with the file name of script basis. I'm just clicking. Now I'm going for my script basis. So under the script basis I'm just using the basic functionalities, like I'm going to make the constant of word, text, score, time, end game, setting button, and even we need to set form and difficulty style. Okay, these are the things which we are going to make the constant one. So I'm making as constant word, which is equivalent to document dot get element by id, which is of word. I'm closing this statement. So next I'm going to make their constant of text, which is equivalent to document dot get element by id, which is of text, and I'm closing this statement. Next I'm going to make their constant of score. Under the score of E1, I'm just making the process of document dot get element ID. Okay, so let me see. So I have done for my endgame document dot get element by ID, where I have used endgame container. Next I have used for the constant of setting button, where document dot get element by ID of setting button, which is also setted. Next I have used for setting form and difficulty select. So we need to process the words. For this I'm using the constant word, and I have used the list of the words for the game, where I have made for people, because, dream, acceptable. If you want to add more words, you can add. Just I'm going to add as discover, comma. Since it's a string, I need to enclose with a single quote. Project. You can use any words. I'm using the simple words now. Web series. So just enclose with the quote, comma, and you can add n number of words actually. So I'm just adding almost of 20 to 30. Let's see. So I have added so many words. You can able to see it is not mandate to end with a simple words. You can add even a sentence basis. After on this continuations, I'm just need my initial word, where it should choose the random word from this constant basis. So next I'm going to make my score of the score should start initial of 0. For each word I am setting the time to be as 10 seconds. So we need to find the difficulty to the value in 1 second or a medium basis. For this, I am going to use as let difficulty local storage dot get item of difficulty, and where I am using the operator which is equivalent to of null basis. And once it is done in this sense, I am getting it as local storage dot get item difficulty, and I am setting as medium. So next we need to going to process. So again I'm processing with a difficult select value equivalent to local storage. Again this operator, that is exclamation, is equivalent to, I'm just cross checking with my null characters, and I'm again using the operator of question mark, where it cross check with my local storage, and it process my get item of difficulty. So this is done, and again I'm setting here as medium. So I'm setting here as medium, and since it's a string basis, we have to enclose with the quote, and I'm enclosing with the statement 2. So on the continuation, we have to focus on the text to be started. For this I'm going to use as text dot focus, and I'm just closing this statement. Next we need to start the countdown. So for this I'm going to use as constant, which is equivalent to time interval. So under the time interval I'm making here as set interval, and I want to update the time for each millisecond. As we know, 1 second equal to 1000 millisecond. So I'm just processing over here. So where it is updating the time, and it processing with millisecond. So I'm just done with this. I'm just closing with the statement. So next, I'm going to generate the random word from the array which we already declared on the constant basis. For this, we are going to use a function, and I'm going to make it as get random word. So I'm making as get random word. This particular functionality I'm going to use, and I'm making it as it should return that word, and it should give the value of floor. And for this I'm using as math floor, and it should make my random. For this I'm enabling math random. So I'm making as random, and I'm closing this statement and processing with the words length. So this is done. So next I'm going to process with my function of we need to add the word. For this I'm going to use the functionality of function add word to this part. This particular functions I'm just added and closing this. Next I'm making here as random word, which is equivalent to my get a random word. This particular function is I'm just calling, and it should be processed under my inner HTML. For this I'm going to use as word dot inner HTML, which is equivalent to random word. So this is done. So next I'm going to make their update their score. For this I'm making as function comma update score, and calling this function, and next my score value should be increase. I'm just making a score plus increment is done doing, and which should be processed on my even element even under my inner HTML. It should be processed under my inner HTML, where it should assign the value of score. So next we need to update the time. For this I'm going to use it as function update time. So this is done, and I'm just going to write the function for this also. So where my function should be decreased, that is like 10, 9, 8, 7. For this I'm going to use the value of decrement, and again it should be processed under my inner HTML, which is equivalent to my time plus second. So I'm just closing this. Again for this I'm going to use a condition checking of when my time is equivalent to 0, it should process my clear interval. It should clear my interval, and the time interval, that is I'm using this particular one, where it should display my as that my game is over. So this particular function should be done over here. So next I'm just going to write for the functions where for the game over and show end screen. For all these things also we need to write the functionalities. So I'm just continuing this part. So on the continuation I'm just making it as function game over I'm just writing and calling the function where I'm making it as end game of inner HTML is equivalent to my, I'm just opening under the H1 part, I'm making as time ran out. So I'm just closing this one. I'm just closing this tag. So next on this continuation, I'm just adding my paragraph of your final score. So it should also display my final score. For this also I'm just writing the value. To get the values, I'm just using the dollar sign, and it should get the value of my score. So I'm just closing this statement. Next I'm going to make the one more button where on the button on click. So when the button is on click is done, in the sense it should show my location and it should process my reload. So again it need to start the screen. For this I'm just enabling as location reload. So this particular function is enhanced. And I'm just calling and I'm making as reload. So this is also over. Now I'm just closing this button tag. So again I'm going to make it as the end game of even, and I require the style want to be display as maybe flex basis. You can choose anything. I'm just choosing this one as my convenient. So next we need to add a word to the row. So let me see. So on the continuation, I have done the function game over. Next I'm going to add word to DOM, where I'm making as text.add event listener as input, and it should be inserted the text which is of e.target value. And after this I'm just making as my inserted text is equivalent to random word, and it should update my score. Again I'm going to write the functionality for the clear basis. So under the clear it should target the value as empty, and it should I'm just making the condition of if my difficulty is equivalent to hard, then my time should be of equivalent to of 2. Else if it is equivalent of medium, in the sense, then my time should be is equal to 3. Else of course it could be the easy basis where it should make it as 5. So it should update my time. So next we are going to make my setting button of click. Under the setting button it should add to the event listener, where I am clicking with the setting.class list toggle and hide. Next I am going to make the setting select where for the form add event listener as change, and it should make it as target value, and it store on the local storage basis. So far we have done the HTML and JavaScript. As I already mentioned, no, on the JavaScript part on the HTML part I have used this meta charset and meta name and meta equivalent to. Even now for the reference I have used this style sheet. And when I'm coming to this H2 part, I have added the symbols like this. You can add according to your plan. Still the CSS part is pending. Let's see what are the things which we want to implement on the CSS to execute this code. So on the CSS part, I have done the box sizing as border box, and the body as I have done as background color of ash2c3f0, and you can choose some other color, maybe like instead of EFF I'm just making, and I'm making their display as flex. You can able to see on the right hand side the respectives, and just I'm making it as 60. So it is changing according to the color whatever we have mentioned over here. And I'm making their display as a flex, and their align item is center Next, I'm making the justify content to be as also center. On the continuation of this, so I'm just making their height to be as 100 VH and margin as 0. Again, for the continuation for the button, I'm making as cursor as pointer, and font size, let I'm changing as my font size as 20 pixel, and making their border radius, let it be 4 pixel, and padding could be, I'm making it as 20. And next for the select, I'm just making here as their width to be as 200 pixel, and padding here as I'm just making as 10 pixel. And on the continuation of this, I'm making their appearance to be none, and WebKit appearance is equivalent to none, Moz appearance which is equivalent to none, border radius is 0. If you want to change the background color, you can change. I'm changing here as E5, maybe ash A7 C5 E5. Next, for the select dot of focus, where I'm making the button focus also to be as an outline of 0, and making this setting of button where I'm making the position to be as absolute, and bottom to be as 30 pixel, and left tab as 30 pixel. Next, for the class of setting, where I'm making their position as absolute, top of 0, left of 0, width of 100%, and making the background color of RGBA, and height of 70 pixel, and I'm making the color as ash FF, and even the continuation, I'm making the display as flex, align item as center, justify content as center, transform as translate Y. So on the transition, I'm just making as transform 0.3 ease in out, and for the setting height, which I'm making as transform translate of Y. So again, for this, I'm making their container, that is class of container, background color of ash FCBA03, and making their padding to be 20 pixel, and border radius as 4 pixel, and box shadow as 0, 3 pixel, 5 pixel. And again, I'm making their color to be relative, text align to be the center, and width to be as 500 pixel. On the H2 part, where I'm making the background color as RGBA, padding to be 8 pixel, and border radius is 4 pixel. And even I'm making the margin as 0, 0, 40 pixel. And the H1 of margin is 0, input of border is 0, border radius is 4 pixel, font size is 14 pixel, width is 300 pixel, padding of 12 pixel and 20 pixel. On the score container, I'm just making the position of absolute, top of 60 pixel, right of 20 pixel. And for the class of container, I'm just making their position as absolute, top of 60 pixel, left of 20 pixel. For the endgame container, I'm just making the background color as inherit, display as none, align item as center, justify content as center, flex direction as column, and absolute to be also as position to be as absolute, and top to be as top to be as 0, left to be as 0, width to be as 100%, and height to be as 100%, and Z index to be as 1. So let's see, the program is executed, the CSS, JavaScript and HTML part is all the thing is executed. I'm just going to reload this. So the time is moving over here, you can able to see. You can able so I'm just, you can able to see over here, I'm just making as hard, and I'm making my time as, so now it shows reload. So within the 3 seconds, I'm just want to place a value, and unless it shows as game over or timeout. So this is a simple example where we have created the type speeder. I hope this session gives a clear idea about the typing speed. Thank you. We can see on the next interesting video.